second critical choice I made on my journey was to commit to a two-way agreement. Now, for me, that agreement at the time was between me and my sister. It was actually a near contractual agreement. What I learned, what I experienced, or I felt is the force of committing to the agreement. And because I committed, actions that started out as, I have to do this. Are you kidding me? I have to do these things. You suck. Whatever. I joke about it, but I really did feel that way. Transformed to, I want to.
Yeah.
And my experience was, because I committed to this two-way agreement, I found joy in the ordinary. And that was the first time that I did. So since then, I've reflected on the two-way agreements that we all enter into, informally or formally, through our lives. And we're in them now. Is there a two-way agreement that you'll share? It could be current day, it could be yesterday, whatever it is, where it was a conscious decision to enter into this agreement, and what did you give? What did you get? Was it easy? Was it hard? And did you feel any type of transformation in that commitment?
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll go to the present. So I'm a huge believer in, and I love your story and the way you talk about this, but I'm a huge believer in the language of commitment. I think the speech act of committing actually is powerful. And I find it to be particularly powerful in what I do with my teams and as a consultant advisor to clients, right? Because what I find is the stuff not said that lives in the ether is where all the devils are. It's where all the problems are, right? And so we just went through with one of my teams. It's a super complex program, lots of moving pieces, essentially setting conditions of satisfaction or commitments amongst the 5 people leading the team. I commit this to you. And by the way, I need this of you, right? And so I'll give you, it's not a give get so much as because that makes it seem transactional. It's more, here's what I want to be in relationship with you. And in order for me to be successful at this, I know myself, so here's what I request of you. And then we can go into a conversation about counteroffers, right? So I can request something of you that may not be reasonable. So I shouldn't expect you to say, yes. This is the other big problem, is sometimes when people ask a thing, you feel like you have to say yes when you really mean, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And so it's perfectly okay to say, I'm really not sure because of. And so we try to create the context in which those authentic conversations can occur. And then the speech acts, once spoken, they're there. What are you going to do about them? You can't retract them. You can revise, but you can't conveniently forget that you made that commitment. So we've been doing
revise implies communication too. I can't revise it without you knowing. We now need to be so there's a constant communication. The language is there together. All right, keep going.
No. That's a hugely important point, because here's an example of what I'll find happens. And I have, you asked about what did I change along the way when I started to do this. One of the things I changed is when I get in a pickle, we all do. And we have the inevitable distractions. It could be family, it could be work, it could be whatever. Mm-hmm. And what I would find myself doing is hunkering down and not saying anything, because I was a little embarrassed that I didn't quite finish what I said I would do and I committed to. So I'm just not going to say anything. And then, of course, it's a domino effect. And then people get angry. They get like, well, I don't understand you. And you're not responding to me. Why aren't you? So it's this really interesting cycle down, right, that occurs. So I learned to just simply say, hey, I need you to know I'm not going to make it. But here's what I can do. And once I did that, I couldn't believe how cathartic it was. Like I felt like a big weight being lifted. It was me. Like no one did it for me. It was a choice, like to your point about choices you make. It was a
Yeah.
choice I made to accept transparency and communication and say something. And so that transparency and ongoing communication, I think, is a really important point that you made, and it comes with some difficulties, often because people are trying to do the right thing and don't want to disappoint.
I don't want to disappoint.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm not going to jump us ahead, but I am going to do a little foreshadowing right now. When we get to the fifth choice, because the fifth choice, Rick knows what my fifth choice is, which is to give and receive love, and how that manifests differently for different people at different times. The story you just said to me about transparency and communication, to me, that is a manifestation of me showing up with the intent of giving my love, the verb. Now, see, now I jumped forward.
Yeah.
Because it takes choice.
Yeah.
And it's a little scary too. And you might disappoint someone. All right. So there's my commercial for the fifth choice. Yeah. I do have one maybe follow-up question about the two-way agreement. It is an awesome example. I love this example. Is this something that you have instituted within your teams for a long time? Is it something you just started doing? Like, how long have you been, and you said it, conditions of satisfaction. How long have you been doing that?
Wow, like probably about 15 years now.
Okay.
I realized that was so important. I don't assert it though. Like, I love your point you made earlier about choice making, right? And opting in to something we want for ourselves. So I will explain it and give examples of like pros, like from two conditions. Like if you didn't do it, but you did do it, how would that feel? I'll do that. Yeah. But then I really like our teams to decide it's a good thing, right? And choose to be part of it.
I love it. Yeah. So I might steal a little bit of it. Sure. A bit. So let's put a pin in that because I'll have a Rick and Trish exploration again to dive deeper into it. Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Choose and Become interview series. To check out more episodes, go to www.trishkendall.com/podcast. Or go to any of your favorite podcast channels, including YouTube, under Trish Kendall Speaks, and you'll find this interview and more. Choose and become.